8 this morning.
All right, there we go. Hopefully the stream is set correctly this time as we listen to the 12 seasons of North Carolina as told by Rodance, which almost sounds like a Christmas carol to be
I
honest.
know,
But
right?
oh man, oh gosh. All right, give me just one more second. I gotta get my phone set the way I want it to, so I can kind of sort of keep an eye on in case I missed like chats or something. Chat messages, I mean.
Speaking of missed chats, I sent you a picture of what I was doing a little while ago that got me distracted.
That's
I
not
see.
safe for
Pretty
me to.
reorganizing.
Yeah. So okay.
Yes.
Let me get back to it here. Welcome, my friends. I am Omar Krieg. This is Blood and Glory, A Father's Pride, episode 12. Some other title-y things because I've been totally flustered, and I just want to say I really appreciate everybody's patience and getting this show back on the road, back to running again. The last couple of weeks have been absolutely stupid, and my normal streaming schedule has been disrupted pretty regularly, it seems like. But we're back. We're here. I have my people. And while I think of other things to bump my guns
Somebody
about.
knock on wood before he jinxes us again.
Oh, Jesus, don't. Yeah, okay, all right, I'll knock on wood. There we go. All right, while we're waiting for all that, Sir, the player of the now deceased Sir Farvel, please give us your wonderful news. Anything new and exciting in your world for the last couple of weeks that we've not been around?
Hurricane.
Take it away. Hurricane. Fuck you. Why
Not
would
really
you say
a
that?
hurricane. It's a storm, like whatever the fuck they're calling it.
Oh, you guys got weather down that way?
Oh yeah, we're getting drowned right now.
Illy.
Yeah, we have roads, mudslides, high winds, trees falling in people's backyards.
What's the wind up to?
I don't know the wind itself, but I know that my backyard has a tree that basically destroyed the fence almost. So now we got to monitor the dogs whenever they go outside because
Oh yeah.
having 4 dogs
And I know at least one of them.
off fence that doesn't work anymore. It's not great.
And I know at least one of them that will be very quick to get out if you blink more than half a second.
Yeah.
Siberian Huskies are absolutely abysmal for staying within their designated space. They like to wander off.
Yeah, you can buy cable leads pretty cheaply.
Well,
like I have one for a large scale dog. It was like $40. You're gonna spend more money on the anchor to keep it in the ground or tying it to something.
You do have a couple of trees you could probably sink one into, but I don't know how. I don't know.
You
His backyard
is. You wrap it around a tree with
padding.
padding.
Oh yeah.
Or you get like a couple 100 pounds of cinder block, which won't make it so they can't move, but it slows them down far enough that you can catch them.
Yeah, I don't know how effective that would be. I know what his backyard looks like, so. But
and also, it's hard to have more than one dog at a lead at a time because they'll get them tangled up amongst each other.
Oh yeah,
I have 4 dogs.
But whenever I have to dog sit and I don't have a fenced yard, that's what I do. I have a lead at the front tied to my front rail post, and I have a lead in the back tied to what used to be a metal laundry post.
So. Yep, sounds good there. I think with the I know Farvel.
I can just tell you they're pretty conveniently cheap. So.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I know Talos' living situation. There's not a big yard, and they've got 4 medium-sized dogs, so it can easily turn into quite the chaotic situation. But
yeah,
I'm taking the spotlight away from the kid. So go ahead. What else you got besides hurricanes and dog leads?
Today's food is cereal.
Cereal. Have you used cereal?
Specifically, Tracks with marshmallows.
Okay. All right. I guess we know what he's eating on. Rodance.
That was earlier.
Oh, gotcha. Rodance, why don't you go ahead and give us a little insight into your life? Because I'm pretty sure when I call on Rev, we're going to get a 30 to 45 second pseudo ad of some ridiculousness.
So yes, I was tricked into fake spring here in the Carolinas. So I went from having shorter length hair to no hair. Let me tell you, my head is cold. So cold. I don't know how you guys in general deal with the number 2 clipper haircut, but oh dear God, my head is cold.
Well, usually we have hats, but I have long hair now, so it doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah, I'm in the process of making a hat right now that matches the scarf that I made a few years back. So mood.
just mood. We got cereal and we got mood. Anything else? Because I'm sure once I pass the reins, like I'm a little nervous. I'm so tempted to skip right
Um,
over him.
I got an interview today.
Nice. What
I
for?
scheduled an interview for a company because my current peeps are insisting on dragging us all back into the office, and I'm like, nah, you
Mm,
should have paid me 15 grand more if you wanted me back in the office. I'm gonna go find a new job.
no, that checks out. I think one thing that employers should have learned is if they were able to do business as well as they were before 2020 or better, that maybe they shouldn't worry as much about bringing people back into the office and just leave it as is.
Yeah, I have the unfortunate company of they own their real estate, not rent it, so they want to drag everyone back in.
I guess that
Also,
would
there's
make
these
sense.
lovely curse words called agile transformation. If if I could go back to 2002 and set those people on fire who made that agile handbook, I would seriously consider it at this point because
I'm not
everyone
sure if I
tries
want to
to
know.
murder it.
I don't know if I want to know the scope of this agile transformation thing that you're referring to. This sounds like one of those crazy.
Horrifyingly backwards project management so much that I want to go kiss a army handbook from 60 years ago.
Ooh, well, that's bad. That's really bad. That's really bad. You brought in the old army manuals.
Yeah. I mean, I would rather be practicing digging a foxhole to hide from radioactive fallout than do agile transformation.
Wow. Oh my
Oh yeah,
God.
don't
That.
forget to leave your clothes outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's. Oh dear God. Okay. All right, Rev. Go ahead. I know you've been waiting. You've missed one night last night and last week as well. So I know you've got some
We're
shit.
2 or 3 weeks actually in a row now we've missed since
Yeah.
the last
It
session.
has been 3 weeks since
Yeah.
Pendragon.
Life doesn't like
Well,
us sometimes.
Yeah.
yeah. I fully understand, but I actually managed to secure an ad read for In Universe for Pendragon.
Oh, but
I
they
was
didn't
reached
have
out to.
ads back then.
Well, it's a town crier. I was
Okay.
reached
All
out to
right.
with a town. I was reached out for a town crier gig, um,
Oh my
by
God.
someone by an NPC, and so
Hold on. Before we continue, can we just have him roll his
Have him roll orate.
Yeah. If he succeeds, then it determines whether or not like,
Oh God. All right. Let's just get it over with. Let's get it over with. Got a show to run here. Go for it, Rev.
hear thee, hear thee. Have you or a loved one of the landed gentry died recently or plan on dying in the near future? Head on down to a good night's rest. At a good night's rest, whether it's crypts, cairns, catacombs, or cremation, mummification, mausoleums, mourners, and more. Helping with your heavenly hallowed home, we handle it all. So come down and see us in downtown Salisbury, right between the Denari General and Merlin's Emporium of gently used goods.
That's awesome.
If this was D&D, I'd give out inspiration just for the alliteration. That was good. All right. I'm not gonna say any more because I don't want to encourage him too much.
I give out D&D. I give out inspiration to my game for dad puns.
Yeah. Oh, I mean that
Oh.
definitely like alliteration. The alliteration alone, not even the ad, just the consecutive use of alliteration there was pretty good. All right, my friends. I am Omar Krieg. I am your Lord and Commander, host of the Krieg Dominion. I said that wrong, but whatever. You know what I meant. And this is Blood and Glory, a Pendragon campaign, a Father's Pride, episode 12. Previously on Blood and Glory, let me get to my notes, which requires an awful lot of alt tabbing. Previously on Blood and Glory, Saxon shipping along the shores of England are aflame. A tough battle was fought in the Wash near Lindsey, a battle that has taken the life of one Salisbury knight and gravely wounded another. To the north, Sir Dallin attempted to meet with the Centurion King to bring him back to Lincoln and King Uther, but that was a failed mission, for the Centurion King had no intention of leaving his seat. It is a somber journey back to Salisbury for some, and for others a quiet trip. What started as a season of promise has now turned murky and gray, despite the successes that were brought about. Our first action or event is Rev rolling 2d6. Because last episode he was knocked down to a single hit point and somewhere along the way incurred a major wound or something to that effect.
I don't think I did. I think I thought the major wound was because I was at 0 health points. But anyway.
You know what? We'll just throw it in there. You know what?
I'll do it. No, I just had the wrong
Well,
number.
okay,
Sorry.
no, because were you nickel and dime down to 1 hit point, or did
Yes,
you
I
actually take it?
was.
Okay. In that case, we don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna go with it until I go and look back at the video that
Okay.
I haven't seen. It's not that big of a deal. All it was just seeing what kind of attribute loss you might have taken. But other than that, so basically to summarize the final events, in our last episode, the final battle for all of the Saxon raiding, Sir Farvel and Sir Everhart encountered a party of Saxons that was led by one Thane, whose name still escapes me, but it's not important because some of us may remember him as being the Thane that led the forces against our heroes at the Battle of Mercury Creek back in 485. In this battle, it started initially with Sir Everhart defeating the one Saxon, while Farvel fought his two, took care of them with not too much problem. And then Sir Everhart was initially fighting the Thane by himself, and then Farvel got involved. Sir Everhart was knocked unconscious from wounds. Sir Farvel continued the fight. Sir Gareth showed up in the fight just in time, basically to watch Sir Farvel take a critical hit of more than 40 points of damage, of which 30 were easily unanswered, and Sir Farvel died on the sandy shores of the Wash. Fast forward a bit, the fighting is concluded, bodies are recovered, and the British Navy, for lack of a better thing to call it at this point, has begun its journey back towards Salisbury. As depicted in the recap, it is indeed a somber and obviously very quiet journey. Sir Everhart is unconscious, effectively comatose, probably for quite a bit of the rest of the year.
Hmm.
Sir Farvel, of course, is dead, and one does not come back from the type of death that he faced. But his body is conveyed. Sir Gareth took a few wounds, so he's a bit banged up as well. For those that don't recall, Sir Gareth is my player character that I only bring in for dramatic and comedic and other specific uses, because I don't want to steal a spotlight from my players. Not too much, anyway. When we get back to Sarum, let me get my notes back up here. Farvel's body is brought back to Salisbury, and then it will later be sent on to Winterbourne Gunnet so that his family can dispose of the body as they desire. Obviously, Sir Everhart makes for Pitton. The squires are helpful in recovering and preserving the remains. Pardon. While in Sarum, the Earl will hold a brief service for Sir Farvel. Bishop Roger, who is the Earl's personal, or not, he's not the Earl's, he's more of like the Bishop of Salisbury, because the Earl has his own, I forget his name, but he has his own personal confessor. But Bishop Roger is the one that's responsible for Salisbury as a whole. Bishop Roger will lead a small service. A few people step forward to make note of Farvel's brief life. And then Farvel's body is sent on to Winterbourne Gunnet for the family to attend to. And it's here that we see Priest Osgood, who spends a day or so in preparation and then leads a funeral service. Now, I'm not going to sit here pretending to understand how funeral services go. So basically, this is going to be something more of a... I imagine his body is somewhat on presentation. Would Farvel want his body burned, or would his body be buried or put into a crypt or something? Buried. Okay. So the body is probably presented, but it's been covered with cloths or something to that effect. So I don't think coffins would have been terribly common, as it were, at this point. But I could be completely wrong as well. But Osgood is definitely going to lead the services, and he has a moment or two where he gets a little a little choked up maybe, but he definitely speaks very well of Sir Farvel. He even mentions a couple of times where, you know, when we teach people how to do something, we can sometimes get frustrated with that person that we're teaching because they're not picking up a lesson the way we want them to. And maybe they don't pick up a couple of lessons. And the priest, being the kind of man he is, I kind of feel like he probably had like a little stick or something that he would just wrap across the back of Farvel's hand when he failed some sort of reading or writing task. Can't quite get the B to look like a B or an L to look like an L. It always ended up looking more like a 1. And so he would wrap him across the knuckles, perhaps. But Osgood also, and he tells the story in a humorous tone, of course. But he he enjoyed the time that he had with the young man because he sensed a lot of great promise in Farvel. And one of the ways he knew that Sir Farvel had an awful lot of potential in his lifetime was that Farvel, among more than most of his family, was always looking out for other people, in particular the small folk or the commoners, the peasants, that a lot of people in the landed gentry or the nobility or whatever you want to call it, Britain, don't normally do. But Farvel was there to match donations to the priest, for the church, for the people. Whenever Osgood was setting up like a soup kitchen or, the 5th century equivalent thereof, it was Farvel there that was providing, if not money, then providing food and water and bread for the people. And it is because of this that Osgood is, one, visibly shaken and a bit disturbed that his life has been cut so short. But also, and perhaps more importantly, this is why the priest believes that Farvel could have been a great man had he had survived that battle on that fateful day on that fateful beach. Sir Gareth is there as well, partially out of respect for Sir Everhart, who had fought alongside Farvel, who had been a close companion of Sir Farvel, and because of the Lady Myrthen, which is, of course, Everhart's sister, and also Gareth's wife.
Would I still be unconscious at the time of the funeral, or would Everhart?
I really want to know what Everhart would have to say. So I imagine will allow that Everhart was able to make the journey, but he probably not of his own accord. Like, he may have had to have a squire or two or some servants help him into a wheel cart or something, and had been brought to Winterbourne Gunnet in order to attend the service.
Okay.
I really am curious to know what Everhart might have to say.
Well, so the first thing, I would have probably spent at least a couple of lirum making sure that everything was, or just toward the funeral services themselves, to make sure that everything was looked well and was
a good presentation, as it were. Okay.
While I wasn't prepared to give remarks because I wasn't sure if my character would be conscious, I would extol the virtues of Sir Farvel. I would, for lack of a better term, pour out one for the loss of his companionship and the loss of essentially what I considered family. Essentially that he will be missed, and that as long as I'm alive, his son will not want for anything.
Awesome. That almost gets me in the feels that I don't have.
Jeez.
Oh, that's one way of putting it.
Yeah, Sir Gareth is there, like I mentioned, and he, Gareth and Farvel never really interacted a whole lot, but Gareth definitely takes a moment to. If you guys don't know, Gareth loves to drink. Um, at one point in time, I was kind of, and I may or may not have said this on stream. I don't remember, but one of the core character concepts for Sir Gareth is that there are three things that he loves to do, and all three of them start with the letter F. One of them is feasting, which includes drinking. You guys can decipher amongst yourselves what the other two F's might be.
Friendship and frolicking.
Yes, yes. Well, anyway, so Sir Gareth is definitely a drinker. Is the long and roundabout way would have the long roundabout thing I was trying to get there. So he definitely, when the opportunity comes to raise a toast or to pour one out, as they say, Gareth is definitely there. I think Gareth would have. He definitely had a certain amount of respect for Farvel, and he knows that. He went into that. Gareth went into that fight knowing uh, that he didn't go into it necessarily to save Farvel or to save Everhart so much as he went into it because there was a Saxon there that needed to be killed. But when he saw what was actually going on, like when he finally killed the Saxon and he looked around and noticed when it happened, Gareth was definitely one of the first to be like, get the squires, let's get some people over here, let's get these bodies, out of the sand, let's get them recovered, treat them as best we can. And it was then that everybody noticed that Farvel was actually dead. For lack of a better way to put it out, however long you want to look at a combat round for Pendragon, by the time the Saxon was killed, Farvel had already bled out. Like there was just no other way. He was already done at that point. And it wasn't until then that Gareth noticed that Farvel was dead. So, he wanted to make sure his body was recovered so he could be taken back. And he recognized that Farvel had a certain fighting spirit that could not be questioned. He might not have been the greatest fighter, but he had a lot of spirit and a lot of determination. And so Gareth, when Everhart, raises a cup, Gareth is right there with him. And definitely would say something to the effect of how Farvel would be missed and that he could have been a great inspiration for many others. Sir Dallin, I'm curious. First, would you be at this funeral? Secondly, if so,
we
go
are
ahead.
fellow campaign buddies. We at least spent a full summer campaigning
Yeah.
this last year.
Yeah.
So
You
I
had a
would try
couple.
to attend when I found out.
Oh yeah, you definitely. I think the priest Osgood definitely would have allowed time for people to travel across the county. Again, it only takes a couple of days to get back and forth. Oh, hold on, Talos, can you take care of that, please? I don't know if you're.
Yeah.
Just ban, kick, whatever. I don't.
Yep.
I hate when people do that shit. Yeah, you guys were on that campaign together in 486. You guys fought the giant. You guys fought the Nucalavi. You guys were there when the sword was recovered and then presented. You definitely have a little bit of history, and not for nothing, a year is not a short amount of time. Like in the grand scheme of things, perhaps, but in the time that you knew him, that was definitely a significant amount of time. So I think Osgood would have definitely allowed for people to be notified and give them time. I mean, yeah, they're probably, at this point, Farvel's body's probably been well salted to try to keep the smell down, and I don't want to be grotesque about it, but like the
There's
truth
a
of it
difference
is,
between a burial service and a memorial service.
yes, and maybe by the time everybody shows up, it's more of a memorial than it is a burial, because of how long it would have taken. Like you're talking like a couple of days minimum just to get back to Salisbury, and then another day or two to get to Winterbourne Gunnet, and then upwards of a week before the actual services are held. So, anyway, sorry. Go ahead. What would Dallin have to bring about or offer regarding the death of Farvel and Everhart's near demise?
I would toast the bravery of my fellow knights in the service of Salisbury. Their Farvel will be dearly missed, and general brotherhood commentary things. I'm
Fair
blanking
enough.
at the moment of
No,
my
that's fine.
funeral words.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think this would be a good moment to transition into the next caretaker of the Winterborn Gunnet family. Would the new character, as played by Talus, please step forward, offer a few words for the fallen boy, and assume his rightful place as the regent lord of Winterborn Gunnet, please?
Here's my uncle, right?
Yeah, he's your
The
uncle.
person that I'll be playing now, right?
Yes,
Which means Farvel was his
nephew.
cousin.
Nephew.
Oh, nephew. So I imagine something simple is like it is unfortunate that he's passed, and as everyone's mentioned, he had great virtue and just standards for the lower commonwealth that other nobles don't generally pay attention to. And then he sort of, I guess, just wishes him, I don't know. Hopefully he's up in heaven or whatever the Christian Roman
But still heaven.
virtues are.
Yeah, he'd probably say something like, go with God, or may you find comfort in the Lord's embrace, or something like that. I'm sure there's probably a far more um, equivalent statement for the era, but something along those lines. And what is the name of this uncle, the younger brother of Farvel's father?
It is Sir Vidamar.
Now, for the viewers that have been watching, this has been flashing on the screen for Talus's slides there, that this is Sir Vidamar, now the Regent Lord of Winterborn Gunnet, because young Farwin is legally at this point the heir. Now Vidamar is the Lord in fact, if not necessarily in title. Excuse me. But for clarity, Vidamar is Talus's new character, taking over now that Farvel is gone. Vidamar is a 47-year-old former House Knight, now Regent. We created this character the other day, or about a week ago. We decided that we were basically going to follow all the normal character creation rules, except we stopped at what otherwise would have been 21 years old, which is the normal starting point for Pendragon characters. We did not give him any additional experience. We also did not account for him being 47 and spend like 12 years of aging effects. We just kind of left those two out to kind of balance each other. However, when we get to Winter Phase in a little while, Vidamar will definitely be taking the aging roles, or whatever they are.
Additional ones?
Yeah, it's the additional parts of this step that we haven't done yet. Excuse me, because everybody has been in their early 20s still.
Yeah.
Does Vidamar have family of his own, like kids?
Currently, no.
Okay.
So, very brief description of Sir Farvel's family. Farvel's father, of course, was the previous lord who died. I forget exactly when. Vidamar, Eoric, and one other were younger brothers. Of those, I believe only Eoric is currently married with children. Although I think one of the other brother has a bastard child. Vidamar currently does not have any children of his own. And that also, just for Talus's own edification, when we get to Winter Phase, you may want to consider getting Vidamar married because of his social status.
Yeah, no, I know.
Would that be one of those things like he could technically marry the widow, or
I'm glad you brought that up, because Talus, correct me if I'm wrong, because I get the two confused between you and Everhard. Your family is generally Roman Christian, correct?
Yeah.
Which is the modern era version of, or not version, but basically Roman Catholic. Whereas Rev's family is British Christian, which is much more in line with what will later become Protestant and all of the different variations therein. So, in the Bible, it definitely does, and I forget exact scripture quotes, and I'm not going to try to get into it, and I'm
It's
definitely
Yiddish
not getting.
tradition, though, not Christian.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm also not
Um,
going to get into the morality of it. I will leave that for everybody else to determine on their own. But I know it is in the Bible about the widows. Excuse me. Yeah, the widow. No. So in this case, it would be someone in Farvel's family who would have
If
some sort of requirement to look out for. I
yeah,
forget his
the
wife's name.
brothers, if it was a brother, that was like you
Yeah,
see
the
that in scripture
brother.
a couple times. A brother or a cousin, uncle. I don't know of any references to that off the top
Okay,
of my
maybe
head.
that's what I. I'm also not a biblical expert.
Right.
I remember various things that I've read, and I forgot
Well,
a
far be
lot
it
of
for
what
me
I've
to
read.
know every Old Testament story, but I don't
No,
recall. And
no.
that's not saying there isn't any. Um, um, a famous one is Ruth and
Yes.
Boaz, but I'm pretty sure he was like a third cousin,
Yeah,
something
he.
or other.
Yeah, they. I see where you're going with it. Where generally speaking, it's a more or less keeping it on the same generational level as opposed to going to like the
To a
uncles
degree.
and stuff. Yeah.
So it really would be up to Farvel,
Yeah.
or sorry,
Vitamar.
Talus.
Yeah, Talus. That is
Yes,
something
to
that
have.
you could consider. You don't have to answer that now. Although the question of um, what will happen with I forget her name. What was Farvel's wife's name? Was it
I'm
Gwiona?
pretty sure it's Alwyn.
Arwen. That's it.
Arwen, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because you combine the two names to make your son's name. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on.
And I would definitely quietly or through my squire arrange to have a letter delivered to Arwen that basically says, if Vitamar has a son, come and see me.
You're wondering about inheritance conflicts.
I'm wanting to make sure that Farvel's son doesn't get killed over who
Yeah,
inherits the
yeah,
title.
yeah. Because
Especially since he's only 1 year old.
because your devious GM is definitely considering various angles on that already, and I should be because
Look, we don't even want to discuss the mortality rates.
yeah, yeah. Um. So before I move on to Sir Dallin, I do want to have a brief conversation. Not necessarily role play, but consider this to be in character information / decision making. Sir Vitamar is taking over the family, obviously. We have Sir, or I keep wanting to say Sir, but we have young Farwin. What is Vitamar's directive regarding him and his mother, the Lady Arwen?
Honestly, I'm gonna keep them close at Winterburn, gun it still.
Okay. Now, I bring this up because legally speaking, Farwin is the heir to Farvel, and therefore he's entitled to the lands and incomes and all of that stuff. Vitamar is essentially, literally just holding that. Now, this is legally speaking and not necessarily what really happens as far as like what happens day to day. So this is something that I want you to think about over the course of time is what is Vitamar, who now is getting this taste of power and responsibility, what is he going to do as the boy gets older and older? Or when Vitamar gets married and starts having his kids of his own.
Right. And here, just because I know the history, think about it from Vitamar's perspective of if he has a kid, he's looking at either my kid can inherit all this land and all this and be wealthy and well off, or my kid can go back to what I used to be and basically just be answering to some higher lord where he doesn't own anything and he just takes orders.
Yep. So
and do I want that? And do I want that for my kid?
So that's something that you'll want to think about as you roleplay Vitamar. And this may seem weird because like internally, your current character is now plotting against your now dead previous character, so that might be a little weird. But keep in mind that like when one lord or king or what have you dies, the succession is always in jeopardy throughout much of human history in this time, across many different cultures. Let's not get into how the Romans basically had a civil war every time the emperor died.
Yeah.
That
Romans
may
had
be
The Romans had civil wars on Sunday
Yeah.
for fun.
Yeah. So, um, on that note, so for now, Sir Vitamar is intending to look after both Lady Arwen and the boy Farwin, as well as, of course, managing his lands. As the winter phase approaches, Sir Vitamar may or may not choose to take a wife. Vitamar also has a brother with kids that he may be looking to lean on for like advisors or a good strong sword arm at his back, that sort of thing. And if I'm not mistaken, those kids are in the same generation as Farvel and may have already become knights themselves. I'm not 100% sure without looking at your spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's to take a look.
Well, and then that's to also keep my character married Lady Indag, who is 43.
Mhm.
Like, there is some cross-generational marriage apparently already, so.
Yeah, and there's a couple of different options to look at and think about, but these will be ultimately your choices to make, and I'm just gonna,
Well, I mean-
try to facilitate where I can and make things interesting for everybody.
A historical example that I'm aware of is like during the War of the Roses, which is a later time period, I know, but the king sought to have his essentially brother-in-law married to who was in his just like 18 to marry like a 60-year-old widower in order to inherit her lands.
Yep. Yeah. Weird shit happens when you have power and design to have more. Or sometimes in defense of keeping what you have. Weird shit can happen. And on that note, let's move to Sir Dallin. As I recall, prior to the beginning of the campaign season for this year, Sir Dallin had intended to visit some of his manors after the campaigns. Has any of this changed by
Yes.
chance? I doubt it. I just had to ask.
No, because my manners are because I inherited several
Mhm.
through Index. We're going to have to do some oddball amount of traveling because, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
quite a few of her manors are in the very northernmost portion
Yes,
of
they are.
Salisbury. Well, my primary manor is very close to the downtown
Let
section,
me
or the
flip.
primary capital area.
I'm gonna flip the map and hope that nothing breaks and that the pieces don't go flying. So one
Uh-oh.
moment.
What if I flip the table and blame it on you?
Don't you dare. Okay. This isn't a good map. I had a separate table set up to show the different manors, but I know they're mostly up in this area here.
Yeah, because
I forget which one's off the top of my head.
Is Stapleford, which is only like 6 hexes away from Sarum.
Yeah,
Hers
it's
are
down
in the
here.
far northern portion.
Yes.
So, I'm going to have to visit them at least one point to let them know that we've been married and give them the appropriate, polite visits. And I also settled my brother and my half brother and my sister, and two of the ones that did not have stewards or lords.
Yes. Yes.
So, my sister and her husband and my half brother are both granted places to be, and I hired a steward. Let me double check my spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I think I hired a steward for one of them as well.
Oh,
Yeah, I straight up had to hire a steward because I didn't have enough bodies for all of it.
I know your online spreadsheet had everybody in there, but for Melksham, Potter, and Marston, my copy on my machine does not have stewards assigned.
Yeah, so Melsham is a hired steward gentleman by the name of Pekin.
Can you spell that, please?
Manaford is one of Indag's house knights, Sir Amlin.
Yeah, Amlin and Bronwyn.
Is Elwyn, my mother. Oh wait, that's not one of mine. That's where she lives. Never mind. She's not one of the ones.
Yeah, because she got married to another lord, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Enford
is Sir Bronwyn.
Is and his wife are Indag's house knights, and they're
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So Melksham, what was the name of that guy?
Melsham is Pekin, the hired steward.
And how do you spell that? Peckin or something silly like that?
Peckin. He has a stewardship skill of 11. This is in the spreadsheet. So
yeah,
shared.
yeah. I probably should just download yours. In fact, I'm gonna do that Because I don't want to sit here and try to update all this stuff.
Pottern is being managed by my sister and brother-in-law, and
Okay.
Marston is being managed by my half-brother.
Okay. Got it. Yes, because your half brother was the one that wanted more responsibility and have a
Yes,
chance
so
to do
technically
things.
he has a stewardship skill. I don't know if we're going to hand wave that saying that it's his personal skill or if he hired someone to work for him, but would like to see that replaced by his wife. And I am more than happy to support my I consider him a brother more than a bastard brother.
No, that's
I
fair.
don't
That's fair.
I consider him a brother of mine because frankly I have no other siblings other I have one sister and one bastard brother and that's it. I
Okay.
consider him a full brother to me more than anything. And with so few children and extended family, it makes sense that we'd have a tighter relationship.
Yeah. So I just have to do some GM rolling in the background to see what kind of an asshole he might be, and maybe he's a legit, actual brother worthy of becoming legitimized in the eyes of the
Well,
Earl.
he at least has played it so far as
Yeah.
coming to me and asking for more responsibility and
Mhm.
me giving him the option to do it. I also very purposefully put him in the manor next to my sister, so the sister could look in occasionally as he does not directly have his own wife to manage things.
Correct.
This has nothing to do with the current thing. It's just on the subject of stewardship.
Uh-huh.
How would Vidigern feel, if I pronounced that correctly?
Vidamar.
How would he feel about Farvel's assigning a servant girl to oversee a manor?
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
talking about Bridget?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Bridget was assigned to anything. Was
I don't
she?
think
Or
she
was
was. I could be
Oh,
wrong.
I thought she was because we had the whole
You know
discussion
what?
about
You know
how
what? I
the
think
local
she
do.
was.
I'd have to check.
I do
It-
have her.
it's
Yeah,
none of my
she's an
business.
up.
I just was
She's
curious for headcanon how Vidigern would feel about that.
yeah. So Bridget actually is managing Upchu.
Hmm.
I wonder what she's up to.
Oh wow.
Oh, God. Well, and keep in mind that my sister, my brother, and the hired steward are all stewards of Demence manors. They're not enfeoffed manors.
Yes.
So they revert back to the Earl upon the death of my lady wife.
Yes. Although there are ways in which, um, if you
I
wanted to
personally
petition
would love to see Medwin succeed to the point where the Earl grants him his own manor.
and
That's
make him a
that's a
cadet.
personal goal of mine because I
Yeah.
would like to see my family succeed and
That's
do well
actually
in
a
their
really
lives.
that's actually a really cool goal to turn Medwin into having his own cadet branch of your family. That would actually be a really cool story point. So when you do make your, I'm
And
going to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
he's only somewhat older. He's only 28, so he's not egregiously older than I am.
No, he's still got plenty of life left in him as well.
Mhm.
So I do have some notes that I put together for your progress of your manners. I'm just gonna kind of paraphrase what I have. There's not a lot. Um, in Enford, Dame Bronwyn and Lady Nina are very happy to host you, and they're very welcoming of Sir Dallin to their homes.
Is my wife? This is a full season after. This is a full 3 seasons after the birth of the child. Could she travel at this point, or is she still homebound due to the infant?
I forgot about your kid and all of that.
Because if it was possible, I would take her with me, but children are so delicate that traveling with them in anything but the most balmiest of summer weather is dangerous.
Yeah, I feel like the weather now is probably like very late summer, early fall. No, because we did have that description when you were up in Baracum that was getting close to winter. So this is probably like late winter by the time you're back home. I'm sorry, not late winter.
Yeah, I would have
Late
had
fall.
to. If it was even getting into fall, I would have had to leave them at home. But
Yeah,
I would have asked if Indag would have liked me to deliver any personal letters while I was traveling and checking in on everyone.
I'm sure there would be some sort of family information or
Mhm.
family correspondence letters. Hope
Yeah,
everybody's
these
doing
are
well.
knights in her service. They're not
Yeah.
direct family members.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah. Sorry. I have some of my
you
notes
didn't
in.
tell me if she has a family chart or not.
You
Otherwise,
know
I would have
what?
had to note them in mine.
I definitely didn't. I'll have to see if I can come up with.
Technically, if we're going it by the way, is I only keep track of her, not her family, because her
Correct.
family is a different house.
Correct. And I don't recall, without digging into the book right now, what kind of family she had, if it's even listed. I would imagine at the very least she probably comes from a small to moderate family, probably has a brother or two, but she's also 43 or something like that. So
She's probably outlived all of her male relatives.
she very well could have, or if there are any male brothers that they're busy managing shit of their own accord.
Mhm.
But yeah, she definitely will send family based correspondence back and forth. God, my throat keeps getting dry as shit.
Honey,
Yeah.
man, add a touch of honey
It's
to your drink.
it's my stuffiness that still lingers.
No, somebody
Ooh,
with
all of the meds for congestion will dry you out. That's a standard side effect.
Yeah.
So do you have honey and lemon juice, especially in combination? If you can put that in your water or in a tea or something, or even
Yeah, I
coffee.
think I got some of that. But it's just like the
Yeah.
more I talk, the faster. It's
Yeah.
faster than normal.
It's been an hour, so why don't we take a break? You go make yourself a hot cup of
I'll be
even
fine.
just hot water with some
I
honey.
want to. I want to get through
because the
this little
steam will
bit.
make you feel better.
Yeah, I want to get through
Okay.
this little bit first. Because the next major event is the winter phase.
Okay.
When you get
Oh, we're taking
to
care of the winter phase already? Jeez.
yeah, when you get to Manningford, Sir Amlin will host Sir Dallin with no qualms or anything like that. But his reception isn't terribly warm. It's not cold. There's no open animosity or anything silly like that. It's almost like he's giving you the not specifically the minimums, but a little bit more than that. But otherwise, it's kind of standoffish.
Dude, Sir Amwin's 5 or 6 years older than I am, so I understand the age difference is definitely eye raising between us.
Mm-hmm. Um,
He also
Go ahead.
is unmarried,
Correct.
so I would need to discuss that with him. As if does he has an eye on anyone? Does he wish me to pursue finding him someone, or would he like to handle that on his own?
I think over the
Because
course
he's
of
actually
Go ahead.
he and my brother are the only two marriage eligible people I have to manage. The rest of them are under 8 or already committed.
When you visit, what kind of how long do you envision these visits? Are these like literally just for a day
I envision several days just to
Okay.
catch up and make sure I understand what's going on. I'm
Get
trying
a
to
good
be
lay of the
supportive
land?
without stepping on their toes.
Yeah, and get a good chance to look at how things run so you understand it because you are the lord of it, whatever. Okay. I think you guys have a couple of conversations over a few nights of dinner where initially there's some gentle questioning about what kind of marriage intentions he might have. And then by maybe the final conversation, you start getting into that, like, all right, let's close the deal. Are you gonna marry somebody? What do you want to do? And I think Amblin will. I think he has a certain curiosity to see what you can bring about, and so he decides to defer to your judgment.
Well, I tell him that I am more than happy because in my role, reporting to the Earl of that we all report to, is I seem to be doing quite a bit of traveling lately, and I would be happy to keep an eye out to see if there's anyone who might be interested in moving to this northern part of Salisbury.
Yeah, and I think he'd be okay with that because, it.
I
Despite
have
whatever.
a wider purview of females that I get introduced to than he does.
Yeah,
Plenty
indeed.
Plenty of other women at the old folks' home where you met your wife.
I'm pretty sure we scraped court clean.
The other
I know
thing
there's
too.
technically like one other lady there, but I don't want to inflict
Oh, Lady
bad luck
Elaine.
lady on the other two.
I think it was Lady Elaine, the one that had the tumultuous affairs. I think
I'm
Amlin.
not inflicting this bad luck on my people. Just now.
Yeah, I hear you. I think Amlin will look at things kind of like he is on the. He is not exactly a lord, but he has some of a lord's power and responsibility. But also, you are his supervisor, or I want to say superior, really.
I want to speak to your supervisor.
Okay, Karen, calm down. And so I think he has a certain almost inherent or natural amount of deference to you as you are his lord. Plus, when you do bring up the fact that you have such a wider traveling range, for lack of a better way to phrase it, versus his little
I get around.
versus his little limited scope of being able to wander off not terribly far from home. He definitely feels like you would have a better chance of finding a suitable mate for him than he would. And I probably shouldn't have used the word mate, so if anybody's out there is bothered by it, I apologize. A suitable spouse was probably more accurate. But yeah.
Hey, that's politer than I would have went. I would have called her broodmare.
Yeah,
you.
you could. You could. As for your other manors, these are all the ones held by your brother and your sister and etc. Obviously, there's going to be warm receptions.
Mhm.
Karrison will be happiest to see Sir Dallin, who up until recent months they had never really been apart for more than a few days, with the exception of when you were a squire and she was a page or what have you.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think the cold reception, not necessarily cold reception, but like tepid reception at Manningford might be a question. Also, it is pointed out by Karrison, in fact, that Peckin, I believe you said, was the
Yes.
steward of Melksham. It is possible that Melksham may require a little bit closer eye watching. That was one of the keeping a closer eye
Yeah.
on
Well, keep in
Melksham.
mind that these are literally like Marston and Potter and my brother and sister are literally next to each other,
Hmm.
and Meksham is only 4 hexes away, 4 or 5 hexes away along the road, so they're an easy traveling distance of each other.
I'm trying
So,
to. Oh yeah, yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah.
for coming from my seat where I have to come up, it's very much more difficult to get up here. So it's something that I would have to have them check on
Okay.
at certain points of the year. But I will make a concerted
So
effort to come and check
Karrison,
in at least once or twice a year
so
personally.
Karrison, yeah, Karrison gives you one of those looks that you recognize as you dare ask me to do something for you, you little shit. But of course it's playful. It's not nearly as serious as I just made it sound, but Karrison definitely gives you that look of like, oh, so you want me to keep an eye on this dumb steward over here? I see how this is. Well, you're off playing all high and mighty lord of the land. Again, this is incredibly, in jest.
Yeah, well, I also have two potential wives to be looking for too this next year. So
Ah,
life is
yes,
going to be interesting.
that it will be. Let me see. Let me check my notes. I don't think there's anything else I have planned for this.
Trying to remember where Manningford exactly
I
is,
just
because
saw it. I think, unless I saw it in text. Maybe I saw it in my text. Manningford is.
I know where Enford is because I found Enford. Manningford's okay. It's over in the
Oh yeah,
hills.
it's hidden. The
So
the
it's
word Manningford's hidden in the hills.
Enford and Manningford are enfeeved with
Yep.
Index House Knights in it. These three are the Demence ones. The fact that they're this makes me wonder if whoever used to be the House Lord family over this area got themselves in trouble and removed. Because the fact that it's a cluster of them all right here is peculiar,
Yeah.
especially right around a fortress,
Yep. Round way.
which I'm assuming what that little castle icon
I'm
is.
not entirely sure if that's what that is, but we can go with that for now. Fortress or just maybe a watchtower or something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was not the one that put this map together, and it was also not out of any published material. This is actually another streamer who's played Pendragon and ran Pendragon a bunch of times, and I don't even recall off the top of my head where he got it from. But I got the map, and because I liked the way it looked, and it really gave a strong visual element to the County of Salisbury.
Yeah,
So
the hex map is really nice. It is very helpful.
it
They did a
is.
good job in that respect.
Yeah, the only and not even necessarily a complaint, suggestion would have been if the image had a key so I could see the difference between the different symbols or icons, as well as the
Oh,
different colors.
that's because they're standardized. That's a standardized ink set.
Mm.
I could tell you that right now. That's why they look the way they do, and why there's probably not a key.
Oh, gotcha.
Because the grass, hills, trees, heavy forest are rivers and
Okay.
terrain. Those are all standardized
Icons or whatever.
ink colors and icons for the most part. I mean, there are
Right.
stylistic differences, but those are the standard. Um,
Excuse me.
This has made me realize I should keep better track of my family. Thank you, Roadhouse.
Yeah, you should.
mhm. Yeah, the only thing that's a touch odd is this wall that they have along the north, but that looks like it's a custom piece of wall along the northern portion of Salisbury, probably to help. I do remember there being some random ass stone walls and
Yeah,
the greater
there was definitely Hadrian's
Isles.
Wall, but I feel like that was much further north. I think that's what's actually part of what separates England from Scotland. But Ambrosius Dyke in this context is Ambrosius Aurelius was one of the kings just prior to Uther, and he had built
Hmm.
this dike as a means to physically bar some of the Saxon, or maybe it was the Irish or Picts. I don't remember off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
there is a note of it
The
in the
fact
book.
that that my three of my manors are so far north, so close to what is clearly a fortified area,
Hmm.
makes me generally concerned for them, and I want to keep an eye on them.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
They're not insulated into the south, like Enford is, right next to Serum.
Right.
They're right on the edge.
Yeah, they're right on the frontier, as it were. Does anybody
That's
else
also
have?
why there's so many manors up here.
Indeed. All right, real quick. Does anybody have anything else they need to touch on briefly before we go to break? Otherwise, we'll go to break, and when we come back, we'll do winter phase.
I'm good, man. Just get you some lemon and some honey.
I am gonna probably do the opposite because I'm difficult and stubborn.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to give my throat
At
a
least
bit of a rest.
don't drink a half-gallon of milk. That will just make everything worse.
Oh God, no! I don't even drink milk normally, so
Milk will dry out your throat.
yuck. Anyway, all right.
It actually
So,
does the same thing to your skin.
all right, my friends, we are going to take a break. We will be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Go ahead and get yourselves, restroom, refresh your drinks or snacks or whatever
More
it is you do.
tea.
And we'll be back in a few minutes. Stick around. We got spreadsheets coming next.